I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please note all council members are present. And our first item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which is approval of the minutes from the April 11th meeting, approval of bills and claims and licenses and permits, which includes a renewal of a Class C beer permit with Sunday sales, Sparky's One Stop, renewal of a Class C liquor license with carry-out beer and carry-out wine, including native wine and Sunday sales, Walgreens number 10770, renewal of a Class C liquor license with carry-out beer and carry-out wine, includes native wine and Sunday sales Hy-Vee, and renewal of a Class C beer permit with Sunday sales and native wine permit, Ryling 71 South.
Motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Haley?
Yes.
Bays? Yes. Fleshman?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Are there any oral requests or communications from the audience? Seeing none, we will move on to our first item on the agenda, ordinances. And the first ordinance this evening is the Industrial Park Road Sanitary Sewer Connection Fee, second reading, and Randy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On March 28th, the first reading of the Industrial Park Road Sanitary Sewer Connection Fee Ordinance was waived, and subsequent to that time, we have contacted each of the adjacent property owners by, we just call it, sent it by regular mail. I did have two of the owners contact me inquiring into some questions on the ordinance, but nothing, didn't register any objections to it. And I haven't heard of others that were contacted at this point. But failing that, at this point, we recommend adoption of the ordinance.
Any further questions or comments for Randy? If not, I'll look for a motion to accept the ordinance and consider waiving second and third reading and adoption of the ordinance.
Two separate motions there.
Yeah, that have to be, yeah.
So moved.
So
Second.
you're
You
moving
want
to
to
waive the second and
waive
third
the second,
and
third readings, yes.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to waive the second and third readings. Fleshner?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Bays? Yes. Cots?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
And I will seek a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to adopt. Haley?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Bays? Yes. Benami?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Our second ordinance is a rezoning request, rezoning of the area within a lot 6 of the northeast quarter of section 26, township 84 north, range 35 west of the 5th PM, Carroll County, Iowa. Except the right-of-way acquired by the state of Iowa and subject to the bike trail conveyed to Carroll County, Iowa that is not currently zoned B2. It is 5:55. I'll open a public hearing at 5:55, and Greg.
Okay, the Planning Zoning Commission at their regular meeting held April 13th reviewed the area in question that was submitted by Howard J. Drees. He's the president of Drees Heating and Plumbing. And this lot it's kind of unusual in that the zoning districts kind of split the lot in half. So part of it was A1, the other part was B2. Now what he's doing there is B2. So his request is to rezone the entire lot all B2. Which fits the business he's doing and also gives us a definite line to follow for the zoning districts. That's one of the few, and we researched that to try to find if there was a meets and bounds description of where the two zoning districts were, but we couldn't find anything on it. So this would then put his lot into total compliance with the zoning area. And I would also indicate that the adjoining property owners were notified, And this proposed zoning change would be consistent with the comprehensive plan, and proof of publication of the public hearing for the planning and zoning and the city council meeting tonight are on file with the city clerk. So with that being said, the Planning and Zoning Commission, by unanimous vote of the members present, recommended the city council approval of zoning change request within the area described, A1 to B2. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have about that.
Any comments or questions from the audience or the public?
Yeah, we received no written or
Nothing?
oral objections either way. So.
What you're saying, either. No, it's not for that purpose. Okay. If not, it is 5:56, and I'll close the public hearing. Are there any questions then for Greg? If not, I will seek a motion to approve the zoning change request for the area described from A1 to B2.
Would you like to waive all 3 readings?
Yes. Second.
There's a motion and a second to waive all 3 readings. Cots?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Fleshner?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
And then I need a motion to accept.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Cots?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Motion is approved.
The third ordinance of the evening is a rezoning request with regards to property to be known as Timber Creek East Subdivision, Plat 5, City of Carroll County, Iowa. And it is 5:57, and I'll open a public hearing. And Greg?
I was hoping you were going to read the legal description. It's a rather lengthy one, but what it is in effect is it's about 21 acres or 20.98 acres in the area of Timber Creek East. This area is located south of East Pleasant Ridge Road and to the west of Grant Road. In that area, I'm sure everybody's familiar with where that is. This request was submitted by Matthew Gredman, Marty Steppes. They're the managers of S&G Development Company, LLC. And S&G Development Company, LLC is the owner of the above described property for the rezoning consideration. And at this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission in April, they recommended by unanimous vote of the members present that the City Council approve the zoning change request from the area described from A1 to R2 low density residential district. Now, I'd also indicate with this, the adjoining property owners were notified. The proposed zoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan, proof of publication for the public hearing at the Planning and Zoning meeting and the City Council meeting are on file with the City Clerk. So with that, we'd recommend the approval of the zoning change request.
Any other questions or comments for Greg? If not, it is 5:59, and I will close the public hearing. And I will seek a motion to adopt the ordinance as described from,
Need to waive the readings first, Mr. Mayor.
do we want to do the readings? Oh, yeah, gotta back up. Seek a motion to waive all 3 readings of the zoning request. So moved.
Second.
There's a motion.
A1 to R2, yeah.
There's a motion and a second to waive all 3 readings. Haley?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Seaman?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
And then a motion to accept
So moved.
Second.
or adopt the ordinance.
There's a motion and a second. Haley?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Motion is approved.
All right, we will move on to the resolutions. And our first resolution of the evening is the Timber Creek Subdivision Plat 5. And Greg,
Okay.
sorry to make you do that again.
That's all right, no problem. This was a submission of a preliminary plat of the area we just rezoned, and it consists of 33 lots in that area. And the commission, by unanimous vote of the members present, recommended the City Council the tentative approval of the preliminary plat for the area. And you should have in your packets the minutes of the April 13th Planning and Zoning meeting, the preliminary plat, a resolution for that preliminary plat, and the certificate of resolution. So the recommendation is for Mayor and Council review of the preliminary plat for Timber Creek East subdivision plat 5 and approval of the attached resolution. I don't know if Randy has anything you want to add to that at this time, Randy?
No, the plat appears to conform to the requirements of the subdivision code, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recognizes that.
Any other questions for Greg? If not, I'll seek a motion to approve the resolution of the preliminary plat for Timber Creek Subdivision Plat 5.
So moved. Second.
There is a motion and a second. Fleshner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Cox?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Our second resolution is the collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters Union Local 238 Public Works Union contract. And Laura?
Yes, our current contract with the Public Works, I'll just shorten it to Public Works for our discussion purposes. The current contract expires this coming June 30. Negotiations began this past winter, and before you tonight is a tentatively agreed upon agreement for a 3-year deal with the Public Works Union. A number of the items that are highlighted in your memo are changes that were agreed or that are currently in the police union contract, including an increase of 1 day for funeral leave to attend the funeral of an employee, spouse, or child, and an additional floating holiday per year, increasing the employee's health insurance contribution from 10% to 20%. And these last couple of items, the last 2 bullet points, are actually items that had been talked about in trying to get a succession plan in the water and the wastewater area. Some new positions and pay grade had been established for wastewater operators who obtained their grade 2, 3, or 4 permits, as well as a grade 2 water plant operator. And a couple new positions were included in this now that there are some full-time employees at the library, the assistant library director and library workers. And then all this boils down to pay increases for each of the positions. The first year of the contract includes a cost of living adjustment, which is very common, plus an amount to buy the insurance increase from 10 to 20%. When you look at, in here I have approximately a 2.8% cost of living adjustment. That is based upon the municipal service worker amount of pay, which that's kind of middle of the range for all the positions. As you can imagine, there's a number of positions in this contract. And then the final 2 years of the contract of the 3-year deal is 2.5 and 2.5, which is pretty much in line with the police department. We had talked in length about trying to get some type of a succession planning for the wastewater operators, and so that's incorporated into this contract, as well as it helps encourage the employees to learn more about wastewater and water operations to make them better employees and serve our citizens in a better capacity. Does anybody have any questions about the contract that is presented? If not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the resolution, which approve the agreement with the Public Works Union contract for a 3-year deal beginning July 1, 2016 and ending June 30, 2019.
So moved. Second.
There is a motion and a second. Haley?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Manami?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Our third resolution is the Court Street Resurfacing 2016 project, and we have a report of an opening bid. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On April 12th, bids were received and opened for the Court Street resurfacing project. You'll recall that's Court Street from 4th to 7th, which was the former streetscape project. 2 bids were received. The low bid was submitted by OMG Midwest, doing business as Tri-State Paving, at $121,328.84. That bid is below the engineer's estimate by almost 5%. And the funding for the project is included in next year's budget. Actually, it's tax increment funding that's proposed for the project. And construction is anticipated during this construction season by fall of 2016. Unless there are any questions, I'd recommend adoption of the resolution awarding the contract to OMG Midwest at their bid price of $121,328.84.
Came under budget.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's one.
You're welcome.
Better than none.
Any other questions for Randy? If not, I'll seek a motion to approve the resolution awarding the contract for the Court Street resurfacing 2016 project to OMG Midwest doing business as Tri-State Paving at their bid price of $121,328.84.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Seaman?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Bates?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Our fourth resolution is from the Iowa DOT agreement for maintenance and repair of primary roads in municipalities. And Randy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an agreement submitted by the Iowa Department of Transportation. It's submitted every 5 years to define the maintenance responsibilities within the corporate limits between the city and the DOT. And as you are aware, it's pretty detailed in the responsibility distribution. I won't burden you by walking through those, but basically everything outside the curb lines are city responsibility. And the storm sewers are city responsibility to maintain. Unless there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. The current agreement is effective through June 30th. This one would become effective June 30th of 2016 for a period of 5 years. And actually, it was approved exactly 5 years ago today by the City Council. But unless there are any questions, I'd recommend approval of the resolution authorizing and accepting the DOT maintenance agreement.
No changes were made from the previous one much?
No, there were not any substantial changes. Actually, this is all contained within the Iowa Code and the Iowa Administrative Code. So it's pulled from there into an agreement format. So those distributions would take a change to the Administrative Code or the Iowa Code.
Or the Iowa Code, okay. Any other questions for Randy? If not, I'll seek a motion to approve the resolution authorizing and accepting the Iowa DOT agreement for maintenance and repair of primary roads in municipalities.
So moved. Second.
There is a motion and a second. Haley?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Bates? Yes. Fleshner?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. And we will move on to reports. And our first report this evening is the street resurfacing 2015 project and change order number 2. And Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back in March of 2015, the council did review a request from the Family Resource Center to pave an alley, actually is defined as Block C of the 7th Street addition, which is behind the Family Resource Center building. And that was consented to. The idea was to put it into our street resurfacing 2015 project as a change order. That work was not completed last fall. It was completed this spring, or is now complete, and we are able to determine the final pricing. The proposal was actually based on unit quantities. So we're pretty close to what the estimate was. At this point, the cost of the construction was $10,852.55. That's just a little bit below what we had originally estimated. And that brings the contract price of the street resurfacing 2015 contract to $1,162,266.26. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend the approval of the change order number 2.
I've been back there and that really helped clean that up. So you don't have near the mud and,
It really looks nice.
oh,
See
that
that?
looks so much nicer back there.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments for Randy? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve the change order number 2 to the street resurfacing 2015 contract.
So moved. Second.
There is a motion and a second. Haley?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Bates? Yes. Fleshner?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Cott?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Our second report of the evening is the pedestrian access route transition plan. And Randy, I think you've been busy this week.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, as promised, this has come back to you as a result of the work session, and this is where action is, I guess, tentatively requested. This is the pedestrian access route transition plan. It is required to be adopted by the federal government and in some form. The form that you have before you is based on a guidance document that is circulated by the DOT. So it substantially contains everything required within a transition plan. Now, in this proposed transition plan is just a cleaned up version of what you saw previously during the work session. Two things that do need to be addressed in it. One is the curb ramp program. In the guidance document, there is a recommendation to establish an annual program for completion of the curb ramps, completion of construction, compliance of curb ramps within the city. And in doing so, you would establish a dollar amount that would be budgeted annually in order to accomplish this program. I've included an alternate paragraph in the curb ramp program that really doesn't do that. It kind of gives you more flexibility to budget annually whatever you desire to accomplish your compliance with building curb ramps or pedestrian accessibility. And then as a next step in that, the implementation plan and schedule, of course that certainly could not be established until the dollar amount is known annually, or in the alternative, it couldn't be established at all because there would be no target date to complete the curb ramp program. So I guess at this point, trying to solicit from you what your desire is for building accessible routes for pedestrians. And I guess that's kind of a policy decision, and then the amount of money that can be budgeted, and certainly we'll execute whatever program that you desire, whatever you feel should be done. This transition plan actually contains in it a public comment period, and that's been established within the program beginning today through June 13th. So the final adoption would be returned to you at your meeting on June 13th. But at a minimum of a 30-day comment period is required within the program itself. So if those decisions can be made tonight, it'll certainly go into a public comment period and see where it goes from there at the end of 30+ days.
I'll just throw out there, I think if you don't put some amount in there, it doesn't really have any teeth. And you might just kick it down the road. To me, I guess, that's what I'd look, is I'd at least probably trying a dollar amount over the course of the next 10 years to get it done. Otherwise, I think we'll just be arguing about it time and time again.
That's true. It's easier to kick it down the road with no dollar amount. But I guess just for some additional information, I did distribute the information on the cost per ramp. Right. We can say they're approximately $1,000 a ramp. That's about what they've been going for. And we know we have almost 1,000 ramps to do. Just short of that. And we're in the process of updating that inventory list, but it's going to come in at nearly that many. So, and then on the other hand, in making a decision, we have to decide how much money is it gonna take to bring a contractor to town? Or entice a contractor in town to build ramps? And we had several years ago, several curb ramp projects, and they were bid by contractors. So I contacted one of those contractors and said, you know, what's it take for you to come to town? You know, and pretty much the discussion was probably a minimum of 50,000 in a project, and maybe, and then, you know, all the way up to 100 is what we discussed. But that would give, you know, 50 curb ramps a year at 50,000 or 100, and so that'd take 20 years to finish 1,000. But it's a schedule, you know, and you can do more or less any particular year. Now, we have, last year, in the 2015 street project, we completed 66 ramps, and they were all budgeted in the street project. And we'll continue to do that in all street projects, and certainly the streetscape projects. We finish a few every year. This year, in the High Ridge Road project that we have let, there are 26 ramps, so they'll all be reconstructed. So there is progress being made in addition to whatever type of schedule that you would like to implement in this transition plan. And the transition plan does provide for those other ramps to be completed as part of other projects. You know, it certainly does include that. So, and it's something that's the way we've made the most progress on ramps, is every year we've done them along with the street resurfacing projects. Or even our own crews, if we are patching an intersection, we replace the curb ramp, you know. We know we want to make it eventually through those, get them all in compliance. So everything is directed toward doing those and not avoiding those.
Yeah. Randy, it sounds like integrating them into other larger projects seems to keep us moving along at a good pace. And where you have your paragraph here under other projects, to me that made a lot of sense. And I understand what Eric is saying, we don't want to kick the can down the road, we want to be in compliance. But do you see that if you see that we are making adequate progress, as we should, through the, I mean, we're constantly, streets and this is a high priority for us, and the streetscape, et cetera. So do you see us continuing to make good progress with these ramps as we continue with these bigger projects? To me, it makes sense. It seems so efficient just to integrate it in.
Yeah, we will continue to make that progress, certainly, because we believe this should be done. And we just haven't taken the, you know, councils previous to you have not taken the step of funding just for the curb ramp projects. But yeah, we're continuing to do that. Now, is it fast enough? I don't know. I believe that some that have come under the requirements for completion have had schedules as short as 5 years to complete the curb ramps. So is it fast enough? I don't know. Is it okay? I mean, are we making progress? Yes, we are, certainly. You know, especially at 66 curb ramps. That was a lot comparatively. But do you want to make a little more progress, like with specific curb ramp projects? I'm not, that's the policy question, I guess.
How would you envision prioritizing a curb project if we chose to establish one?
Okay. All right, within the transition plan, there is a paragraph on priorities. First priority is citizen complaints. Certainly, anytime we get a complaint, if someone needs an accessible route from A to B, we'll do it for them. You know, we'll just build it for them. We do want to respond to that.
Does the city do it then, or do you contract that one out?
We could do it either way. If
You
there's
do it,
only a
okay.
handful of ramps
Sorry.
to make their
I just wanted to
Yeah, I was
tie
gonna ask the
that
same
question,
yeah.
to tie that in.
If there's only a few ramps to make their route accessible, we'd probably do it with our crews and just get it
Okay.
done. you know. If it's extensive, then we may have to roll it into some type of a project. Second priority was city facilities. We have a few instances on city facilities that aren't accessible exterior. I'm talking about not interior door handles and stuff, but accessible exterior that we want to take. Those would be the second priority. And so in all likelihood, if we were programming some money, they would become the first priority because we currently don't have any citizen complaints. Third priority are areas of public accommodation. And I guess I view that as kind of where we expect most of the pedestrians, and that's pretty much downtown. And what we would do, you know, certainly in the streetscape projects, we are building the curb ramps. The early streetscape projects, the requirements for curb ramps have changed since those were built. So we do have to rebuild some of the current streetscape curb ramps. Now, what we'll probably do with those is put those into one of the streetscape projects and hopefully fund that with tax increment financing. You know, just the replacement of those few that currently don't comply. Then the fourth priority is all other areas. Now, that's where we've got the 1,000. So how would we prioritize those? Probably would come back with, you know, beginning with arterial and collector streets and start breaking them down that way. Maybe around the schools, use that as one of the criteria for, you know, a schedule of projects if we were to do that. You know, those would be kind of be what I would look at to help establish a priority of those other 1,000. You know.
So if I understood you right, Randy, for a contractor to come to town and do a project, it'd need to be a minimum of a $50,000 project to $100,000, somewhere in that range.
That's based on my discussions, you know, if we were to need to attract an outside contractor, that's probably what it would take, yeah.
And just from the math, you know, 100,000, if you did 100,000 a year, 10 years, you'd have them done. 50,000 would be 20 years.
But, yeah, but along with that, as long as we're doing street projects, we'll be making some
Headway
additional-
into some of those.
Right.
You wouldn't need 100 to get.
No, no. It just depends on how fast you want to go.
Yeah.
You can always go up. You can go from 50 to 100 if you wanted to.
Sure.
But
Well, it seems to me like we need to put a figure in there, and the logical figure to me seems to be $50,000.
Would it be reasonable if we did I didn't mean to interrupt, Jared, I thought you were done.
No, I'm fine.
Would it be reasonable to do a gross amount net of any projects that are planned? So if we decided the gross amount we're gonna do is 100 per year, but we're gonna net out the amount that are planned in the projects. So if there's 66 planned to do a project, let's say, you know, it's 2015 and there's 66 planned in the project, the anticipation would be to get another 34 done to knock away at that 100. So if we're going forward, maybe next year it's 35 and we have 65 additional that we have to do. And so if we do the 65, then it makes sense to go get a contractor. If we're doing 75 in a project, we have 25 left, maybe the city can do those 25 over the course of a year instead of having an outside firm come in and do it. Would that make sense, or would that be too much?
No, that would be fine. It would just, the problem with it would be, we don't have those ramps identified by budget time. So in order to establish your number in the budget, the project for the following year may not be designed to the point where we've identified the ramps in the project that need to be replaced. It just, we could make some guesses and projections, but we may not always hit it on the money. Under that scenario,
Would you have a rough idea?
rough idea.
I mean, if we did 5 less or 5 more a year, I mean, that wouldn't be the end of the world, would it?
No.
with the goal being that they're all getting done. Yeah. I think the 50,000 just simplifies it so that you know you got that amount to tell the contractor, hey, we need 50 of these done or 60 of these done. we have this in our budget.
It would make.
You can go in and above the, whatever you had planned in the streetscape.
That would be uniform budgeting.
Mhm.
On the other hand, for example, last year, it would have 34,000, to do 34 ramps. And then this year, we would have needed 74,000. So your budget number would be up and down a little bit, and that's just something, you'd have to be.
Kind of like Mid-America,
braced.
your utility bill, they know how much you use over a year's time. They calculate that and then say, okay, $60 a month is your utility bill. It just keeps it uniform, so you know how much you're gonna spend.
Either ways.
Well, and if we take that 50,000, that's our planned 50,000 that we're going to put towards
Right. There's
those
dedicated-
improvements.
Right.
Then we have anything above and beyond that with projects in streets that we're working on is a gain beyond that, right?
Mhm. If you establish at 50,000.
And to your point, Mr. Mayor, if we didn't do any more than, say, the 50,000 per year, then that's a 20 years that it.
Take
We
20
need
years to do 1,000,
do
yeah.
that, right?
We need 100 a year. But we may.
If you
get-
do 100 a year, then it's gonna
We have it
be
10 years.
100,000, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Except when you consider the project work that's
Right.
being done. So the more aggressive you are on projects in virgin areas where they don't already have
Right.
handicap accessible or don't need to be replaced, then theoretically you could do 10, 20, 30, 40 more plus the
Plus what else you got.
$50,000 that you allocate.
Right.
Unfortunately, I'm hesitant to say this, but I think we need to have this discussion, is that this year we'll probably be able to integrate this into the general fund balance and it won't be a problem. But in the future, it may be a problem. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it and that you can't do it, but you will have to consider maybe bonding and eventually down the road for purposes of meeting the requirements of the ADA. And maybe, except for managing the projects, you could consider doing a lot at one time and feathering the payments over time. Typically, we would believe that that would cost less. With the economy the way it is, I wouldn't bet that anything will cost less, more, or the same next year. So you have to make a calculated decision, what's in your best interest and what's in the best interest of the community, and how do you want to manage your finances. I would believe that when you see DOJ, you should pay attention, because it isn't that they're ruthless, they make you follow the rule. And the rule is that you have to have handicap accessible, and it's been that way since 90-something.
90.
Do they review this document
No.
then? They don't?
They don't.
But if they would come back to us, this is the first thing we might pull out of the file and say, here, we do have a plan,
We
we
have a
are
plan.
working towards this.
Sure.
Yeah.
What was it? You had that thing from Spencer? Didn't they do 100,000?
That was a little bit different project. That
was
was
sidewalks.
That was
Sidewalks,
sidewalks
okay.
for
That was a
people.
sidewalk.
See, we haven't addressed the sidewalk
Yeah.
portion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
That's
isn't
big.
as, probably is quite as huge as this anticipated amount. But then comes the enforcement, or how do you, and David will be working with you on what you want to get into and how far you want to go with that. But making sure that the intersections are cleared for handicap accessible people perhaps includes the sidewalks, which may or may not be the responsibility of the city, but we're still going to be the major player.
Technically, by code, they're not the responsibility of the city. Practically, almost every city I've talked to takes responsibility for the curb ramps, the pedestrian curb ramps. So what we do, you've seen the plan, pretty much build ramps up to where the sidewalks intersect, if they're intersecting sidewalks. So that's just kind of a standard practice. And that's the reason it's recommended the way
And that's the $1,000, correct?
Yes.
All the way up to the,
it is. Yep.
right.
Perhaps
Randy?
you could allocate 50,000, whatever amount you want, and then in your planning session in August, you can have discussion about this, how you want to integrate this. You give directions to the staff, what you want the next budget to include. And if you direct that you want to include 100, 200, 500, whatever, they'll work staffing on, or the financing on.
Have we had any complaints, ADA complaints, ever that has driven decisions? No.
No.
It's a lengthy process.
We have no,
So we have never had a complaint.
No.
never had a formal complaint. We've had
Formal, oh, okay.
people discuss someone wanting or unhappy about something, but I've never seen a formal, and I've only heard
Yeah,
rumor
I've never.
of people who were concerned.
Right.
Yeah. How are you going to solicit the public input, Randy? You're leaving this open for public input. How,
Well,
is this just in the paper? Or
I would guess.
not
in the-
just
Yeah.
in the paper?
I'm sure the radio station will probably say the same thing too.
Yeah, we'll just put it on the radio.
Just.
That's the way I envision, certainly.
And my thought
That's
for what,
great.
Does the library want to put a poster right when they walk in?
my thought on what I was saying is, I know there's probably not a direct correlation to the more ramps we're doing in a year, the more we're spending on projects, but there's probably a semi-correlation there. So the less we're doing, there's probably more money left in the budget to be able to do more of those ramps. So that's kind of where I was getting at with doing it that way versus 50,000 and maybe not having it every year to be able to put in the budget. But
By the time you get done with this project, it's gonna cost more than $1,000 a ramp anyway.
Yeah, by the time we get
Then they'll
$1,000
change the
ramp 10 years
guidelines.
from now.
It'll be 10 ramps a year instead of 50.
And once we get the ramps done, then it's brought up, then we've got to start talking about, we got you on and off the sidewalk, now what?
Need a motion for that, or?
Well, actually, if you decide what you want to do, we'll put it into.
Put an amount in there?
The plan.
It's now
The plan actually gets, will come back for approval after, well, at your June 13th meeting.
So you don't need necessarily a dollar amount in that document right now?
Yeah, we'd like to try to get a dollar amount in it if we can. Sure.
That's what I was thinking.
So we want the dollar amount in before the public comment period, and then we can come back to it and make adjustments at the end of the public comment period to finalize the product, right?
You can.
So we don't need a motion on the amount.
And not as long as
Just a
everybody
sugge- a
agrees.
guidance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stand by the $50,000 then.
I'd
think it's
I'd
a good
To me,
support
it seems a
that, too.
logical starting point. It's-
Fill it in with a pencil, Randy.
So let me make
Word
sure,
processor.
the staff is fully understanding that everyone is saying $50,000 is a satisfactory number to put in.
Everyone has not said that yet, but that's
Okay.
the direction that we're,
I
staff's
have.
recommending.
You
And I
have.
have.
You- It might be safer for both
Should we do a
sides
motion?
to have a motion. on both.
Yeah.
All right.
Make a motion. Need a motion. Okay, so is there any more discussion about it? Otherwise, I will seek a motion to, that the budget reflect $50,000 annually for its curb ramp program from the funds legally available for the ADA-specific projects as defined in the transition plan.
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Benami?
yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Bates? Yes. Haley?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes?
Motion is approved.
And then you can go ahead and publish that now, correct?
Mhm. Yep.
Thank you very much on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for the information and the good guidance on that, Randy. Appreciate everything.
You bet.
And now our third report is the golf course house located at 2506 West Street in Jack.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is a house that has been occupied by our golf superintendent since about 1986. We've owned it since 1983. It is vacant right now. It would be recommendation of staff to do seal bids, have that, if we can, get the house removed off that site. The responsible party, the successful bidder, would make sure the basement's removed, everything is brought back to grade. We'd like to try to get that process moving sooner. The longer that house sits, just more it's gonna start looking like something that we don't want, so. Answer your questions. Golf superintendent lived in there, rented it for $400 a month. I figure I was right out of their paycheck, so we've had that. It was nice to have the golf superintendent on site for a lot of reasons, but this time we've decided not to pursue anyone else to live in there.
What do you do with that LP tank that's sitting there?
Have that removed.
That'll all be
Yeah, it'll be
removed
removed too, yeah.
I would move to authorize the staff to accept bids for the removal of the city-owned golf course house.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Benami?
Yes.
Space? Yes. Pat?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to thank everyone for another productive meeting. I trust everyone has read the committee reports located in the packet. Are there any more questions or comments from the council? If not, I'll seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There is a motion and a second. Space? Yes. Pat?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Benami?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes, we are.